welcome back to my Florida Garden Escape channel. So, out of everything, we're going to go ahead and tour everything that's inside the greenhouse, which really isn't too much. And then we're also going to take a tour throughout the whole garden areas outside. So, hope you're ready. Hope you got something to drink. Hope you're comfy. If not, go ahead and get whatever you need, so that way we can go ahead and get this tour done and you can check it all out. So let's go ahead and get started. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe down below, and don't forget to hit that bell so that way you don't miss out on the new videos. Let's get going. Let's go. Alright, my Florida Garden Escape channel. So this is the beginning entrance of our greenhouse. As you can see, there's a lot of changes since last time. Y'all have probably seen it. Our basil is still looking wonderful. We did have something coming through here and eating on it, and I did spray it with our neem oil just yesterday. So we shouldn't be getting any more damages like that anymore from here on out. Now over here we do have our aloe and our two new strawberry plants that I did buy. I went ahead and got some. Got tired of waiting for my dry roots to grow because I really love strawberries, and my old man keeps harassing me about strawberries. So I went ahead and got him some strawberries so he'll leave me alone about it. And then over here we do have our cabbage. It's still slowly growing but doing beautifully. Now, one thing I always tell you guys is that marigolds are a great flower to have in your garden, because not only does it deter the pests from your plants that you have growing, but they also look beautiful and they bring in pollinators. Now, a lot of people have questioned this remark on whether or not marigolds actually do deter pests from your crops and that. As you guys can see, there's probably a few things wrong here with my cabbage, but what you don't see here on our cabbage is any nibble bites, holes, and things like that. But if I go in here on our marigold, you can see a lot has been taken off the marigold. So something is coming in here and eating on the marigold and not our cabbage, which is what we want. We would rather want it to eat on that marigold than eat on our cabbage. So now we're going to go ahead and move on here to our little seedling tray. Now, we recently did transplant out a lot of our carrots, some more of our bell peppers. We even have a lot of basil transplanted into bigger pots, which we are going to have on at our stand on May 20th. We also have a heart of gold cantaloupe. We have here the moon and star watermelon. We have some lettuce. You guys name it, it's there. It's there. So we're going to go ahead and move on out here. As you guys can see, the watermelon, not watermelon, but the aloe is doing beautiful. It is surely growing and getting big. Alright, so now we are back outside of our greenhouse. A lot of these plants that you see here that are in the pots, especially our marigolds, will be also at our stand May 20th. This tower here is something I recently just put together as we got some pots from our community. And I put these pots together to build like a lettuce tower. So far our lettuce is liking it. They're enjoying their new space. Not too much damage from the heavy rains we recently got. Now, as we move over here, as you guys can see, there's a lot going on over here. So over here, we do have from ranges of bell peppers to our flowers to herbs. We won't get into all of this over here just yet, as this is just a sneak peek at what we're going to have May 20th. So if you guys are catching this, be on the lookout for us. Alright guys, now if you don't remember our trellis ideas video, or if you haven't seen it, I'll leave a description for it down below in the description. But we have transplanted some cucumbers around our trellis here, and in a week or so time, this guy has gotten big. And even if I move down here, if you look guys, look at that cucumber that's currently growing on here. These guys are doing so great. It's not even funny. We are pruning our cucumbers as they grow. Now I'm going to give you guys a quick hint here. So the one way you're going to know the difference between a male flower and a female flower is your male flowers will not have any cucumbers attached to them. unlike your females, as you guys can see here, let me just put my hand there. As you guys can see here, this guy does have a cucumber there. So that's going to be our female. Now, if you have a lot of pollinators in your garden, you don't really have to worry about going through and pollinating your plants. But if you don't have any pollinators, you can take a Q-tip or your finger and kind of put your finger inside the flower and then put it inside the one that is growing the cucumber. And that's just a little bit of an example of how you would go about pollinating your own cucumbers. Now, as you guys can see, these guys are getting big. They're wrapping onto everything really good. And here is a quick example of some that are just struggling a little bit here to get pollinated. And that's where we kind of come into play with putting our finger in the flower, just like I'm doing here. Kind of fingering the flower and then coming through here, pushing this open and putting it in here. And that is considered pollinating. But our cucumber trellis is starting to grow. We got different ones from the Garden Sweet to the Boston Pickling to our Space Master cucumbers. So before the end of our seasons here, we should have a beautiful trellis of cucumbers. Alright, so next here, as you guys remember, I haven't yet had to put in a third row here for our cantaloupe plants, but they are growing marvelously and they are loving their trellis. That's why we don't have any currently out here. Otherwise, I would taste test one for y'all. And actually, let me just double check here. Nope, that one's not ready. And when you're looking at your blueberries, you want to check to make sure there isn't no more green. They are fully blue, and they're fully ripe. Now, one issue we have been having is that sometimes our blueberries, sometimes something will get a hold of them before we get a hold of them. So we do run into that issue as well. Now, thankfully, I did get one strawberry plant to push off. So that is a great thing to see there. Now, we do have our other blueberry plants here, and they are growing very beautifully. They don't have a whole lot on them just yet. And it looks like something was digging in this because the mulch that I had up here is all stirred around, which is not good. Hopefully the gladius that I did have in there is not disturbed any, because I did have a gladius bulb in there. Here we do have some more marigolds. As you guys know, our marigolds are our best friends around here. This is going to be our mint. We have harvested a few times from it already. Now, you guys are probably wondering, Selena, why is your mint in a pot? Why isn't it in the garden like your other plants? Well, there's a few things to know about mint. Mint actually grows through its roots down in the ground. So mint loves to take over any space it's in. So with that being said, I'd rather keep my mint in a pot than put it out in our big garden area and it take over our whole garden area. So we're just gonna leave it in a pot and let it do its thing. Now, here we do have our tomatoes. As you guys know, we have a wide range of variety of tomatoes. We are currently growing Super Sweet 100 tomatoes in our grow tent, and we'll do a whole nother video on our grow tent and what's going on in there. But these here are our giant tomatoes, and as we move down the line, they're just doing great. Now, as we get over here, we do have some beefsteaks, and as you guys probably are noticing, we have a limb down here on one of our giant tomatoes, and we will actually have to go through, like we've done with these, and tie it up to where it's not falling over. Because one thing you don't want with your tomatoes is them to be low to the ground and be more susceptible to getting pests on them. Now, as we move through here, you're probably seeing a lot of yellow flowers and probably wondering what those exactly are. Your tomatoes always start off as a yellow flower before they actually push off those actual tomatoes. Now, as we go through here, you can see here where we do have some amazing tomatoes growing. And as you guys can see, our tomato plants are getting very big. And we do have some beefsteaks. We got some cherry grape tomatoes growing. We have a lot of different things growing. One thing for sure that we are definitely always doing, we are always coming through here and pruning these guys. Because as you guys can see, they're getting tangled up. And one thing we don't want is them to be overlapping each other and not being able to breathe. Because one thing with them not being able to breathe, that means they're more open to getting diseases and pests. And they're even able to hide better. With leaves overlapping leaves, it gives them a chance to create some moldy mildew, especially with our rainy season. So it's something you definitely want to come out here and do on a daily, is check your tomatoes, make sure they got plenty of airflow, and prune them back anytime they're starting to get really clustered up. But as you guys can see, we definitely do have some great tomatoes growing here. Now, as we move down, I just want to quickly show you guys here. One thing with tomato plants, you can't really tell the difference between the varieties until they really start producing their tomatoes. For example, these are supposed to be our cherry tomatoes, but they're not very small. They're actually very big and plump. So I'm kind of concerned that these could not be cherry tomatoes, that I might have labeled these wrong. And it does happen from time to time. You can get confused and mislabel your plants. I mean, we all are human and we all do make mistakes. But as you guys can see over here, that is definitely a beefsteak tomato. As these, I want to say they're grape tomatoes, but they're super big. So I'm not even sure if they are a grape tomato. But that's going to be enough of our tomato plants. We're going to go ahead and jump over here to our bell peppers and check those out. Alright guys, so these are going to be our bell peppers. Now, y'all are probably wondering, Selena, why are some big and some small? Good question. Now, if you guys don't remember correctly, we did have an actual harvest from this bell pepper plant and this bell pepper plant. Wait, it was either this one or this one we harvested from. One of these two we harvested from. But anyways, there's going to be two different methods that go about with going with bell pepper plants. So, there's two different ways you can go about having your bell pepper plants. You can get them tall and not prune them at the top, and they're going to start producing bell peppers before you even know it. But depending on your growing season as well. If you have a short-term growing season, this method probably wouldn't work great for you, as if you have a short growing season, you definitely don't want to crop off any of your bell pepper plants. But if you are in the longer seasons like we are, we have our spring and our summer, and we actually go through each season, even though it doesn't feel like it at times, we actually do go through each season. So we are able, and I'm going to show you a good example, we are able to go through and cut off the top here after the 6th leaf. And as you can see, we did cut it at an angle so the water will just roll off of it. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to allow our bell pepper to branch out and have multiple multiple branches, which will give us more bell peppers. Now, if you're in a short season, this might not work out for you, and you might not want to do this as you have a short season. So with a shorter season, you definitely don't want to cut any of your bell peppers, because you're losing a lot of your growth, and then you won't get as many bell peppers once it comes to near the end of your season. So I wouldn't recommend this if you have a short growing season. Now, as you guys can see, some of these I didn't actually have to do myself, as our rabbit friend, as I like to call them, did this one for us. So I'm actually kind of grateful. And as you guys can see, it's already branching off from these armpits, as you guys can see down here. Now, if your bell pepper has exceeded its 6th leaf and it's just still way too big, and I'm going to show you an example. one here got way too big and I wasn't able to cut it past its 6th stem. As you can see, it is starting to branch off on its own, which is totally fine. But it is shorter than the one we have over here, that we actually really didn't cut anything off at all either. So in a sense, I'm kind of questioning whether I should have even cut off the tops or not, because they're doing pretty well. But by the end of this season, we're going to actually see, because we already have some that are cut at the slope like I showed you guys, and some that are not. So by the end of this season, I should really be able to tell you guys whether this is a good thing to do or a bad thing to do, if you'll get more from it or if you'll not. Especially if you're here in our Florida zone 8B, I'll definitely be able to really test this theory for you guys. As I'm still kind of wondering it myself, is this a good thing to do or a bad thing? I recently did just learn this, so we're gonna see. So now, y'all are probably thinking, this is squash, Selena. We already know what this is. This isn't just your regular old squash. This is actually black acorn squash. Black table queen acorn squash, if I might add. And as you guys can see, right in here, we got some acorn squash coming through. Now, just like with our cucumbers, the same thing's going to go with all our flowered plants. Cucumbers, squash, cantaloupes, watermelon. If it's got a flower and fruit attached to it, that's a female. If not, it has no fruit attached to that flower, it's a male. That's just how it goes. But as you guys can see, not everything is in the ground just yet, as we are getting ready to be transplanting a lot of this later on this evening. I wanted to cool down some before I do transplant it, so that way it gets adjusted well and not in the middle of the heat where it could get tons of shock from the transplanting. Now guys, if you haven't catch the video yet, we do have our tarp already in place, and we have a video posted about it, and I'll leave a description about it down below. But we are still waiting to pull up everything and see what the polls lead to, whether if we are going to plant the watermelon inside this tarp or just around the tarp. And this decision, guys, is going to be all up to y'all. So make sure you're commenting down below. So next up, guys, y'all remember when we did our upside down tomato plant? Now, if you guys remember, I said that I did end up using my dad's ladder for this. Well, he's not totally mad about it. At least, not that I think. I could be underestimating that statement there. But anyways, so we did move the tomato plant, as I did notice it wasn't getting enough sun. And I was told this was a really great thing to do with your tomato plants. And when I did this, it's like, okay, we're going to try this out, see how it works for us. Well, this is how it works. It's not upside down anymore. It turned itself upside right. But as you guys notice, here we have bumps at the bottom of the tomato plant, which means it's trying to send out roots to ground where there is no ground. I think you're confused, tomato plant. I think he's definitely confused. But anyways, enough of that. Now we're over here to our muscadine. Now, no matter of what anything looks like, guys, you guys know we show you everything. You get the full raw see of it. But yeah, you guys get the good, the bad, the ugly, the everything. Y'all are pretty much family, so you might as well see it. So, we're going to now check out the muscadines. Muscadines? Muscadines. I always get these confused. Alright, and this is what these guys are doing. As you guys can see, some of them are starting to flower, if I can get it to zoom. And I don't know if this is what they're supposed to do, but that's what they're doing. So it's a-okay. Alright, and now we are here at our raspberries. As you guys can see, we have some that have already popped off, and as you can see, that one hiding behind there. He is already red, but he's not supposed to be red. He's actually supposed to be black, so he's not fully done yet. This guy, on the other hand, I don't know what he's doing, guys. I've added coffee grounds to him. I've added some tea bags. He keeps trying to send off new shoots, and then they don't really get very bushy. But if I go visit my mom's raspberry, hers is like 2 times bushier. So I don't know what she's doing differently than what I'm doing. But yeah, that's how this guy's doing. Now here at this muscadine, y'all are probably wondering what the shovel's doing here. Here at this muscadine, it hasn't shot off anything. It just keeps growing and growing like that one is over there. Hopefully within this next season, maybe we'll get some muscadines out of it. I've learned that these muscadines are actually really great for wine and not for eating. So yeah, there's that. And then we have that. And y'all are probably wondering what that is. Story time. Wait, we're supposed to be doing a tour, not stories. We'll do a story time later. Just a quick replica of it. Power line up there fell, hit our ground. And I'm sure you can imagine the rest. Just kidding. Y'all thought I was just going to tell y'all that much and then just leave the rest in question. Guess again. So, it actually rained while I was out at my physical therapy and that, and it stormed. On my way home, I had got a notification from our security system that our power was out. Well, as I got home, I seen our electric company out here driving around and things like that. I guess trying to figure out how to get back there. Well, when I walked back to the back, I seen the power cable laying on the ground, and as you guys can see, it burnt our grass too. Well, later on, after they got it fixed and everything, we were like, okay, power's back on, everything's back and good. 2 hours, maybe 3 the max, before my 9-year-old was hollering, "Mom, we have no water." I was like, what's wrong now? We gotta have water. Like, it was just running fine before I had left home. Like, my mom had just made 2 cups of coffee. But, come to find out, she only used the water that was already in the lines. So, I was like, what? How is the water not even working? Power's on. Breaker's fine. Everything's good. Breaker was flipped, so I just flipped it back. And it flipped back. It's like something's not right here. So we go to investigate into the ground to our well pump. Come to find out, the power cable that fell in our property, that's on our property, fried our well pump line. We are actually thankful it didn't fry our well pump as well, because that would have been way worse. But that's pretty much the story behind all that wiring and why it's there. But now we're going to turn you guys around, and you guys are going to check out our Florida King peach tree. So as you guys see, here is our Florida King peach tree. It does have some yellow leaves. We aren't getting a whole lot of sun here recently, as it is our rainy season, as we are coming up to hurricane season. We do need to get some coal and clay to protect our Florida King peach tree from the pests. As you guys can see, we do have some holes coming through the leaves. Now, I did plant a marigold at the bottom of our Florida King peach tree to help divert the pest from the king peach tree. Now, as I turn around, we do have our banana trees, and so far we've had these for over a month. They haven't really gotten taller. What we did notice is that every time a leaf dies, new ones pop out, but we don't really notice any height change. So we're hoping over time we will see some height change in our banana trees. Now, here is our satsuma. As you guys can see, we did cut out that old limb that was in the satsuma. And as you guys can see, it's pretty hollow. There was nothing in that satsuma limb. Now, with satsumas, you are going to have branches that have thorns. Now, they're not real pointy yet and not real pokey, which they are still very young. But as they get older, they're going to get bigger, and then they're going to get more pokey. Now, the thorns are to protect them from any predators that's going to come after their fruits and things like that. So they're definitely a good defense plant for sure. Alright guys, now we're back over here to our front. As you guys can see, we have tons of marigolds blooming. They're looking beautiful. But as you're probably noticing as well, we have tons of weeds. Weeds galore. Which, we're going to get into that. So, the only real reason why we have weeds galore in our front garden is for one reason and one reason only. Not only do we don't want to put mulch up here at our front garden area, it's just because we don't want to put mulch. And the reason for that is because when it rains and you have mulch in your front garden area, the rain splatters these black spots that hit your house that are apparently really hard to soft wash off your house. And my old man, he is an expert at soft washing. So he was like, no, we're not going to put mulch down because then it's going to create black spots on our house. And then our house is going to look like a Dalmatian. And then we'll have to pay a lot of money to get it soft washed and cleaned. It's another reason why we don't have a lot of trees around our houses. So that way our house doesn't get dirty so quick and we don't have to hire a big company to do a big soft wash job. So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to either put cardboard boxes down, or we're going to put down tarp down around the plants and then put rocks on top of that to help keep the weeds out, because going through and weed eating is a hassle. They grow back so quick because this area gets so much sun and so much water. So that's why they come back so quick. But now we're going to go ahead and move on. But I'm going to show you another sneak peek of what's going to be at our stand on May 20th. Mammoth sunflowers galore. I told y'all could only have a quick sneak peek at them. So other than our plants over there, we do have more marigolds along with more weed galore over here. But our marigolds are doing pretty great over here. Not a whole lot of any mildew. We have pruned a lot back. But they are looking great. They're loving their area. They get a lot of pollinators over here by them. Now, as you guys can see, our Canaan lily has shot up. She is pollinating like a beauty. And as you guys can see, she's already shooting out flowers out some of her shoots, which is freaking amazing. I love it. And what you guys see here is damage from a hornworm. You guys are probably wondering, what the heck is a hornworm? A hornworm is actually a green worm that has a horn at the top of its head to protect itself. And that's what came along and munched on my plant here. Thankfully, I removed him out of here and I fed him to our bearded dragon, which bearded dragons love hornworms. Now, as you guys see here, we do have more marigolds, and then our solar sunflowers are looking really droopy. And y'all are probably wondering, Selena, what the heck is going on with your solar sunflowers? Well, these solar sunflowers have came to the end of their life cycle, so now what we're waiting for is for them to finish prepping their seeds up so we can harvest the seeds from the center of the flower. Now, as you guys can see, this one is pretty much done as it's got brown all the way around. And we'll do a whole video on how you'll go about cutting the sunflower heads off and things like that. Alright, now in between these spaces, we are going to have, holy cow guys, check it out. So I just realized we have a gladius growing here. That is so freaking amazing. I'm super stoked about the gladius. Now over here is another one of our mammoths. Now our mammoth is taking a beating. He's got quite a few aphids on him. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take some neem oil action to these guys and apply it to him along with some coal and clay to get these aphids good and gone. Now over here we do have some more of our marigolds and a little bit of weeds coming through, so that just means we need to add more mulch and get rid of these weeds. But that is going to be end of our tour, guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm glad you guys came out to join us for our tour. I hope you guys have a great and wonderful rest of your day. And you guys keep growing and keep being amazing. Bird flying freaking at me. That was really freaking weird. But yeah, you guys keep being amazing. And until next time, deuces!